we go. Switching over to capture age. All right, here we go. So we got Grausamer Günther, who is also scripted by Elias. We saw Corleone earlier today. And so Grausamer Günther is also an aggressive AI, not as aggressive as Corleone, but Grausamer Günther will often go for infantry, as you would expect from Goths. Meanwhile, Sederhana is an AI that's mostly made for the Conqueror's version and scripted by Krupuk, who is active on the scripting forums, and unfortunately the forums went down, so Krupuk might not know that this stream is happening right now, unfortunately. Yeah, so Grausamer Günther so far in this tournament lost both games against Brightspark, and then also lost both games against GamesGod. So Grausamer Günther is the last remaining AI that's looking for some wins in this tournament. Meanwhile, Sederhana lost both games to Tribal Warrior, but won one game against Charon. And so we'll see how this game goes. The Grausamer Günther and Charon both play Goss and play a similar strategy, but definitely in different ways. And we saw Sederhana beats that strategy on Arabia, so we'll see what happens here. So we do have a chicken Arabia with actual chickens this time. And Grausamer Günther has a forward forage bushes, but otherwise everything else looks pretty defendable. Got one, maybe two forests in the back if you count this one. We've also got some neutral deer. I'm curious if Grausamer Günther will find those and try to push them toward the TC. Meanwhile, Sederhana, who is playing as Aztecs, he also has forward forage bushes, but all the other resources off to the side except for the chickens and the second stone. And only one back forest this time, and it's building a lumber camp on the forward forest. And we've got an idle scout again from Grausamer Günther here. I'm not sure if the scouting is done by DC or if it's with strategic numbers. Yeah, so we've seen a lot of idle TC time from Grausamer Günther. I wasn't watching closely enough to see what might have caused that. Meanwhile, things are going pretty smoothly for Sederhana, doing the typical like Conqueror style forage bushes, farms, and lumberjacks. So you've seen a goose that was killed far away from the TC. I don't know if it was on its way to go back to the TC from scouting. But I am curious to see if this mill will be used to gather the chickens or not. But unfortunately it seems to be built kind of far away from everything. Alright, so we got a barracks for Grausamer Günther. And who has, I believe, has properly explored Sederhana here. So did find the mill, but not anything else. but Sederhana has not found Grausamer Günther yet. Alright, so Grausamer Günther has started researching Feudal Age. Doesn't have the gold for mining camp. It's going for the first lumber camp instead. And it's good that it got it at this point rather than after building a second farm, because they might not have had enough wood for this lumber camp otherwise. So that could have definitely delayed. And unfortunately, it looks like Grausamer Günther's villagers decided to gather from this tree, even though the lumber camp was built here. I think this is probably because the villagers calculated that these trees were closer to the TC than over here at the time that they were tasked to it. I don't know if Leif scripted the AI to delay the drop distances until after the drop site is placed. If so, that would explain why the villagers chose this forest even while this lumber camp is being built. But we do see some militia here on them already attacking Sederhana, idling this whole lumber camp, the only lumber camp actually. And I didn't quite get a chance to see what this building was. Might have just been a house. That's probably what it was. Alright, so one of the militias killed off, and looks like a second one that was killed here. I think these villagers will kill off the third one. But now Grausamer Günther has man-at-arms, and this will be a lot more dangerous. So these villagers are successfully killing off the reinforcements that are coming from Grausamer Günther. One villager has been killed. Sederhana is still ahead on resources gathered due probably to... I'm not sure exactly what the resources gathered difference would be caused by at this point actually. But there was some idle economy time, so Grausamer Günther could have just been behind on villagers, and it's only just recently caught up on them. Let's take a look at the resources gathered stats. So, it's like Sederhana has been climbing ahead, actually. Sederhana has enough resources for Castle Age. We'll see if it has the resources, but not the buildings. We got the blacksmith, but no market, archer, ranger, stable. Getting the barracks getting built, and maybe a second military building after this barracks will get placed. All right, so we got the archer range. Once this archer range gets built, maybe Sederhana will advance to Castle Age. We got the first infantry armor being researched for Grausamer Günther. Alright, these soldiers were going back and forth a bit, but it looks like Grausamer Günther is now committing to the attack. And Sederhana has started researching Castle Age, but has no military to defend at this point. So the skirmisher has no upgrades. but the infantry now have +1 armor, which will help out quite a lot against the villagers. 2 attack against instead of 3. Or the villagers will cause 2 attack against the infantry. Even still, the spearmen won't stand a chance. So, still 2 villager kills for Grausamer Günther at this point. This villager might go down. Not quite. But 2 more villagers killed. I think one was right here. Alright, Sederhana is up to Castle Age. If I remember right from the game against Charon, I think Sederhana might go for Eagle Wars, but I can't remember for sure. So these skirmishers are doing a good job of idling Sederhana's economy, keeping them away from the gold. But Sederhana has a lot of resources banked up that it could spend on various units or technologies. Alright, train a monk. And Grausamer Günther is building a mining camp for stone, is also researching Castle Age, is about 2 minutes away. Adding bloodlines, maybe we have some scouts that will be trained here. And also get into gold mining. Alright, let's see. Let's do another villager kill. I think the men-at-arms will get killed first. Yep. So, unfortunately, besides being able to get some relics, Sederhana's not really taking advantage of his Castle Age timing to build up a military or to start booming and get ahead on villagers. Building a university, which is not really going to help at this point in the game. The skirmishers are still doing some damage, the villagers not defending against them. Alright, so Grausamer Günther has all of the feudal age stable blacksmith upgrades, getting bow saw. The skirmishers still do 1 damage against the villagers because of loom. But it'll be good to have some stronger units. At this point, the scouts are probably the strongest units with the bloodlines and all the feudal age upgrades. Looks like the units are kind of struggling. They're just kind of struggling to know where to go. But at this point, Grausamer Günther is pretty far ahead in terms of score. Has caught up on resources collected, and you can just see how much damage it's causing to Sederhana's economy. 7 minutes of idle eco time. Sederhana is researching Imperial Age. In a state like this, Imperial Age is not really the tech you want to go for. You're just too vulnerable. Those resources would be a lot better spent on helping defend. But we do have some Eagle Warriors and other military being trained by Sederhana now. So it looks like the military only starts being trained once Imperial Age starts. So maybe Sederhana is best classified as a fast Imperial Age AI. But just like that, Grausamer Günther's army has been killed off. And 6 military against 9, 10. I do think this Sederhana's defense and military numbers, this is probably only temporary before Grausamer Günther is able to launch a stronger attack in the future. And then being able to attack into Huskarls is going to make a big difference because these are a big step up from the feudal age units that he was using earlier. I'm curious how much Grausamer Günther will use the monks. Those could also do a fair bit of work. We got a castle from Sederhana. And the monk is killed. So these Huskarls should do a fair amount of damage against Sederhana. They'll counter pretty much everything that Sederhana is training. The Eagles would kind of be like a soft counter for them. I think they get a couple. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, do attack damage against shock infantry. So not as much as long swords, but they still get some bonus damage against them. Alright, so we got some forward villagers here. I was looking to see what building they might have been going for. It's been unfortunate to see Huskarls are still the only castle age unit that Grausamer Günther is training. It has some resources banked up, but doesn't seem to be using them for upgrades. But does have Bodkin Arrow, and it's getting the second armor upgrade. Sederhana is still using Eagle Scouts. But I was about to say, I was trying to check and see if that monk got a conversion. I don't think he did. He's converting now. So let's take a look at this battle here. Remove those villagers. Yeah, so Grausamer Günther is winning in terms of military units on the ground. Let's see if this castle goes up this time. It doesn't, unfortunately. Looks like Sederhana is still using the default building methods from the Conquerors, where you only have one villager, and you cancel the building immediately. Yeah, I've got a forward castle being attempted again. I assume this is the building that Grausamer Günther was trying to place originally about a minute or two ago. So this is a very aggressive castle, which could be, depending on how quickly Grausamer Günther cancels it, it could be that could be canceled pretty quickly. But these villagers currently look, I was about to say, it looks like they were pretty well defended, but I guess they got attacked somewhere. Alright, got it placed again. Let's see if it goes up this time. Doesn't look like it. I keep on missing where they're being attacked from to cancel that castle. Maybe it's this monk that was trying to convert the villagers, I'm not sure. So, Grausamer Günther has light cav, but no long swordsman upgrade yet. Also have a few converted Eagle Scouts. Alright, so we got a castle from Sederhana. I wonder if we'll see some Jaguar Warriors soon. Yes, looks like it. So, I think Grausamer Günther needs to cause some damage here before Dragon Warriors come out, because those could cause a lot of damage against his army. Alright, that also helped get in the conversion. Alright, let's see if this castle goes up. If it does, I think this could be a game over castle. Alright, the castle's looking good so far. I'm not sure what the settings are for the Grausamer Günther to cancel it, but I kind of wonder if it's a single attack and that's all it takes. Just like the default settings for canceling buildings. I don't know if SN% building cancellation is used or not. It's kind of looking like Grausamer Günther is not using it, which I think is a shame. But it could also be set to something like, I don't know, 50%. And let's just take a look back at the stone. Only 2 villagers on stone. So it might be a little bit before Grausamer Günther decides to try a castle again. But 40 military against 3 for... those are some pretty hard odds to come back from. Even if Sederhana starts training a bunch of Dragon Warriors, they're probably still not strong enough to come back from this kind of military. "25 villagers versus 79. So we're seeing a couple of trebuchets being trained from the castle here. One army has reached the battleground. So I think once I either see this TC or this castle knocked down, I think I'll call the game. Yeah, that TC is going down. Alright, good game to Grausamer Günther. So, the aggression eventually paid off and Grausamer Günther got ahead on economy. There was a slight period where, right after Imperial Age, when it seemed like Sederhana might come back, but Grausamer Günther's advantage from the earlier in the game was just too much, I think. I think probably the better move for Sederhana would have been to train military during this period of time before Grausamer Günther had a big enough advantage. Anyway, let's just take a look at the various other stats here. 8 units converted against 7. Alright, and there we go. So we're going to go on to game 2. And let me just take a look and see what civs Sederhana uses for arena. So it's random, but that's for the Conqueror civs. So let's go over to the civ picker here. Unfortunately, I don't think the site has an ability to pick by DLC, by the expansion. Just gotta pick all of these. All right, and then generate. So we got Byzantines. Alright, so I think we're all set. Let's get started for Arena. So we got Gus for Grausamer Günther once again, who I think will use a similar strategy on Arena as Arabia, follow the same build order. The infantry should be pretty good against the walls and be able to break through. Meanwhile, Sederhana is playing as Byzantines. It does impact the build-in HPs, so it should be the defensive capabilities of the Byzantines should help a slight bit, but I don't think the Byzantines are your typical arena civ. You kind of want someone with good economy. But we got land research for Sederhana. The Grausamer Günther is hunted the elephant. And we do have a deer Arabia. I guess ostrich count as deer in this game. So that should favor a more aggressive start from Grausamer Günther. And no significant LTC time from this start like we did in the last game. The main gold for Grausamer Günther is in the back. Everything else is either sideways or forward, it looks like, but not terribly so. Meanwhile, Sederhana's main stone and the backup gold is forward, while everything else is backwards, so overall not bad for either starting position for either player. And we see the Grausamer Günther's deer pushing from military units. I think we actually saw the military units switch which animals they were pushing. And I actually find it pretty interesting. I wonder if the way it's coded is that it's a search for the animal, and you see which one, like which military unit is closest, and that's the one that's used to push in the ostrich. I think for my deer pushing, I kind of lock in, okay, this is I kind of lock it into the idea, like focusing on the scouting unit that's pushing, rather than the animal that's trying to be pushed. But we're already seeing some militia going forward from Grausamer Günther, and haven't found the enemy yet. But we might see them going toward the enemy here pretty soon. Alright, looks like I'm gonna scout again. So, scout mirror, let's see if that's gonna get it. The scout close. Okay, so it has found the walls. That should be enough, but no gates found yet. So I think that gate was found. Update the score. All right, let's see. So we got a bunch of militia coming out this way. Yeah, something I haven't thought about before. I wonder if you can push foxes. I guess it doesn't matter too much at this point. But yep, the supervillain AIs have some code to kill off animals that are considered neutral or owned by the enemy. Alright, so we'll see which part of the wall these man-at-arms decide to attack. But I'm not sure exactly where these man-at-arms are going. Maybe they're trying to kill off the foxes. Alright, looks like the gate was targeted by a few man-at-arms. Double bid axe for Grausamer Günther, while Feudal Age is about 1.5 minutes away for Sederhana. Yeah, and this gate is slowly getting knocked down. We'll probably see it go down around the same time that Sederhana researches Feudal Age. Alright, looks like Feudal Age for Sederhana is going to happen first. And besides a mining cap, no immediate changes for Sederhana. Not a lot of wood banked up, unfortunately. Alright, so there's the blacksmith. But getting all the eco upgrades. Meanwhile, the gate's about 3rd health. Grausamer Günther's adding an archer range. And Sederhana will have an archer range by the time that Grausamer Günther breaks through. So at the very least, Sederhana will have the resources for the buildings for Castle Age and maybe the resources by the time that this gate is broken in. So I don't think the Castle Age will be delayed, but definitely I think we'll see the economy getting hurt here pretty soon. Alright, the scout's gonna go down for Sederhana. How much was that scout hurt? Half health, unfortunately. Just sneaking by. Man, I'm just going through that little narrow corridor. Alright, so the units for Grausamer Günther are just kind of walking around looking for targets. So they sometimes attacking villagers. So we got hit the gold mine finally. But it looks like Sederhana's villagers are going right back to it. It's about a minute of idle eco time for Sederhana, but Sederhana is still ahead on resources collected. Alright, so we got some range units coming in finally. We got fletching on these skirmishers as well. I think we saw these skirmishers do a good job of idling the economy in the last game. Already have 4 villagers down for Sederhana. So Sederhana's in Castle Age, but I'm not sure how much we're going to be able to see Sederhana make use of that. We also got a mining camp in the middle of nowhere, which probably means that either this location was not considered available, or the distance for mining camps was not set high enough. So unfortunately we might see a mining camp spam, which you don't really want to see in an AI match, but it happens sometimes. Something that is kind of a game engine thing is that there's an SN called drop site separation distance. By default, it's set to 10, to where drop sites have to be at least 10 tiles from any kind of drop site. So, like this mining camp, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Unless maybe the mining camp is built here or here, it's possible that the AI can't actually find a valid spot for the mining camp that is at least 10 tiles away from this mining camp. I'm guessing that Sederhana, if it's based on the Conquerors, doesn't change that SN to something that's much lower, like 3 or 4, a much more reasonable value. Alright, so we see some villagers coming here to try and gather some wood. They'll kill off this spearman, but I don't think they'll attack this skirmisher. So one common thing with the matches today is just seeing the automatic villager defense behavior not doing well against range units. Grausamer Günther is 30 seconds away from Castle Age. Already has 10 villagers killed. So it seems like the aggression in this game is actually turning up better than Arabia. Let's see another house. Yeah, that drop site separation distance is something that I don't think, it's just a kind of a simple SN that I think not a lot of people will like immediately look at, because you usually think of like the drop site, like camp max distance, mill max distance, things like that. The default value of 10 for the drop site separation distance was actually a hard-coded value for the Conquerors version. It was something that you couldn't change at all. So the drop sites always had to be at least 10 tiles away for that version of the game. Is really unfortunate. It's one of those settings where it probably felt smart for Ensemble Studios, but actually was not a good setting. So, Sederhana's at 34 villagers, 2.5 minutes of Violet Eco time, getting an elite skirmisher and wheelbarrow. I think when Sederhana falls below 30 villagers, I might call the game. Because this is looking like it's definitely in Grausamer Günther's favor. We've got a forward castle knocking down the gate. And the gate is down. Sederhana is still maintaining villager production, probably just because of the food stockpile. But I don't think the food gathering has been much over like the past minute or so. Just out of curiosity. Yeah, the resource gathering is mostly flatlined here. Just taking a look at food. It is growing for Sederhana, but not by much. Alright, but Sederhana's now fallen below 30 villagers, so I'm gonna call it here. So, pretty lopsided game there. I'll give Grausamer Günther the second point. And switch back to the game here to look at the in-game scores. In-game stats.